Hello. Hi.
Huzzah!
Hey. Welcome to my session, What's in it for us, after the Indiepocalipse is over. So, my name is Marin, and I have a small indie studio called Apps, and I'm also an independent contractor. I work with some fantastic people. You can see on my slide here. And my latest products are my fantastic book about animations on iOS, published with the raywendick.com, and my animations newsletter. So I'm pretty much, my income comes from my own stuff, basically, and here and there I do some independent contracting. So it's an emotional ride, kind of, this talk. Hopefully you're going to get through. We're all going to get through. So let's see about it. All right, so the Indiepocalypse, right? The Indiepocalypse is upon us. It comes for you and for me, and it's gonna last until we all make $0 per day. And so, indies are getting extinct on the App Store, and we're worried about it. It's funny, it's under Indiepocalypse. I actually traced it back to the origin, where it was used first in the context of the App Store. And I was in the iOS Goodies newsletter from last year in the summer. I know the guy, Tiago, and Rui, he's on our team too. So Tiago saw it used in other contexts, wrong contexts. And then he figured out that there were so many blog posts this last summer about indies giving up and basically kind of being not able to meet ends and so forth, that he used it in the newsletter, and I really liked it. And I really went through and read through all the blog posts about indies not being to actually meet ends. Yeah. But do you remember the beginning of the App Store? That was amazing, right? 15,000 apps on the App Store. That was crazy. And there was lots of excitement. It was great. I personally can remember one dark night in the winter in Germany. I installed the provisioning profile on my iPod Touch, and that was beautiful. It was crazy. And actually, after 4 rejections, finally got the app on the App Store, and that was great. That was fantastic time, right? That was really great. Actually, we were not really so sure. We're excited. But after the Apple HQ in London sent us an email to ask us for promo material, then we were sure that we were going to be millionaires. So that was, fantastic. But of course, these times are over now. That's done with, unfortunately. In the words of Ray Wendick, there's a sense of doom and gloom over the community. It really has been bad, right? It's really like an apocalypse. All the indies are getting pretty much out of the App Store. So let's have a look at what were in those posts that actually, pretty much defined and announced that the Indiepocalypse is upon us. For example, Jared, he worked 8 months on his app, an iPhone app. He said 60 to 80 hours a week. I mean, that's crazy, right? Like, no time for restroom, no time for going out. This is literally 80 hours a week. Is something amazing. He says his mental health and his marriage suffered. So, and he earned only $32K across 1 year, which, for example, where he's based, that's not really so much. And he has a family and so on. So this really doesn't meet ends. Another post from the same newsletter was called My iOS Indie Game Numbers. So Chad earned just about $500 from the 3 games he developed across a year, and he worked nights and weekends. He was pretty disappointed, and so forth. And finally, a more recent example from this year is Sam's post about Redacted for Mac. He worked on it every now and then, and he put a little app there in the Mac store, and he made only about $300 the first day. So he was also pretty disappointed, decided that indie life is not really for him. He decided to be an employee. And of course, it is tough for indies, right? Because if we look at the competition, I mean, it is very tough, right? So you will be buried under millions of garbage apps or quality apps but you'll be buried under them as an indie developer. So it's really tough to, you can't beat this price, for sure. And also, I mean, who makes the doll on the App Store? You've seen the screenshot already 3 or 4 times, depending on which sessions you went this week in the conference. But this is the top grossing page in the App Store. So it's Microsoft, Spotify, Pandora, HBO, Kim Kardashian.
There's a horrible Zynga slots application. I thought they were at least trying to obscure the fact that it was nothing but gambling where you never get paid off.
That's about it. I mean, this is how it is, really. So indies don't really get much love, and it's tough for indies because you have to deal by yourself with many problems, like app review, for example. I mean, this is something that actually gets people off the store because it's pretty much random, right? Like there are some guidelines, but they just wing it as it comes. So it's pretty bad. And let me jump the reason that I first thought about this talk. It's Doodle Doodle. So me and my partner in Indiepocalipse, he's a designer and a painter, and I'm a programmer. So we decided to, ride a wave of iOS 8 and create a custom iPhone keyboard. So we sat down and planned it really well, much unlike in the apps, but still we decided to put a little bit more thought in this time. So we used the cutting iOS 8 tech. Custom keyboards is one of the features that Apple pushed, right? It was unique for the App Store. There was no other keyboard. I mean, probably there still isn't any other keyboard with hand-drawn doodles that you can use as emojis when you chat with friends and so forth. And it works with all the apps, so WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, messages, and so forth. So we thought we had it pretty good, and we really put effort to make it really well in press releases, app blogs, development diaries, and so forth and so forth. We put so much effort that we also created a little ad like actual apps have, which I really want to show you right now. It's just 30 seconds. I'm not so sure if it's going to be enough, but let's give it a try.
If you chat as much as I do, you're probably wondering, why isn't there an iPhone keyboard that gives me something more interesting than emoji, but less crazy than animated GIFs? Something I can use every day with everyone. Well, now there is. Me Doodle Doodle, an iPhone keyboard that gives you more than 300 stickers to express just the emotion you're looking for. It's really easy to use, the stickers are hand-drawn, and the name is Doodle Doodle.
Alright, that's it. So, we tried to make something like a professional launch for this app. And based on all the prep that we did, that was the expected result. Okay. However, what happened was something different. It happened Xcode 6. 60 source kit crashes per second. I hope that you've heard this before. It happened Swift 1. Whoops. Arrays shouldn't work like that. And iOS 8 SDK, I mean, that was hilarious. And but we got through all this, right? We actually got through this. And when we actually figured out all the tech, turned out that Apple really made sure that we cannot earn money with it. Because there are a set of rules, especially for keyboards, which say that keyboards cannot show ads, so you cannot really earn money through ads. Keyboards cannot have in-app purchases, so you can't really sell anything. And also keyboards cannot link to apps where people can buy something. So the only way is to actually have your app paid, so that people have to pay upfront and then download a keyboard. And as you know, that doesn't really work. So, and there's even further restrictions that Apple had to call us on the phone like some kind of mobsters in the middle of the night to tell us about. So that was pretty bad. And finally, we said, okay, whatever, we're going to release whatever we release, no matter we make any money or not. So let's just put it out there and see what happens. Well, if you've ever installed an iPhone keyboard, you know that this is the instructions how to install it. So the workflow of installing a keyboard is the following. So the person needs to go to the App Store, needs to find you, needs to like your app, then pay for it upfront. And then when they start your app, they are presented with this kind of instructions. So they need to quit your app, go to Settings app, in Settings app go to General, in general find the keyboard item. In keyboard, they need to scroll to keyboards. In keyboards, they need to tap Add New Keyboard. They're presented with a list of all available keyboards, need to find the keyboard that they just downloaded, tap on it. Then this brings them to another screen where they again need to find your keyboard and tap on an item called Allow Full Access. And when they tap Allow Full Access, this is what they see. A message that says, I'm reading here through, full access allows developers of this keyboard to transmit anything you type, including things you have previously typed with the keyboard. This includes software, sensitive information such as your credit card number or street address. Right? So you're in your right mind. That's the normal reaction to this thing. So, and I can't tell you about all the hate email that I receive because people are frustrated, right? Like they pay upfront for something. They did the impossible. They find an app and pay before they've seen it because they like the screenshots and so. And then after they got through all the hurdles that we just saw, like the long list of instructions, this is what they're presented with. And people will say, like, hey, I paid for this app. Why would you steal my credit card number? It's ludicrous. So the results are. So this is on the results. So what we did across half a year after the launch is 768 euros. And about now, like the exchange rate is pretty much the same, so you can consider those US dollars. So this is what we made, right? So we have to divide this by 2 people because we're 2. We split profits. So this makes a $384 or euros for me. Although I need to subtract from this my hospital bill, which leaves me with minus 316 euros. So you will say, what kind of bill? Why do you put this on the balance from the app? Well, we put so much effort in preparations for this app, and we really wanted to launch in a perfect launch and so forth. So when they rejected us for whatever ludicrous reasons, I just woke up in bed with my laptop, was reading through the rejection email, so I felt like my left half is getting numb, and I can't really breathe so well, so we had to call up an ambulance. And I was in Berlin at the time, so I had to cover this. So what happened was pretty much, okay. What is going on here? I can't breathe so well, and my left half is numb. Okay, make him an EKG. Oh, my boyfriend, please don't down me. We're gonna see about it. Come with us if you want to live. So they didn't really say come with us if you want to live, but we had to go to the hospital and then pay up everything and so forth. So it's pretty dark, right? Like if you're in Indy, you're pretty much screwed. It's the day of it all, and we're gonna die. Although I want you to pan a little bit so I can tell you about my year around the release of Doodle Doodle. So I actually released Doodle Doodle from Washington on a pretty cool conference there. It's the conference from Ray Wendelich. That was amazing. Before the conference, I was in Prague for a week to relax a little bit before traveling to the US. And before that, I spent autumn in Lisbon. And before that, I spent the summer in Spain, walking from Portugal to Santiago de Compostela on El Camino de Santiago. And after that, I was to Bavaria and Bali and so forth. So, that's pretty much doesn't really... What is going on? That's not the Indiepocalipse, or is it? Okay, so there must be something that happened, like in there, that changes everything pretty significant, right? So, well, some of you will say, oh, Marin is coming, he's from rich origins and he doesn't really need to make money on the App Store. Well, that's not true. I actually come from the other side of the iron wall, and I was born in a piece of Europe that was controlled by Soviet Russia. And, my family was not in the Communist Party, so we didn't really, definitely not rich origins. So my plan was either to drive a tractor or, in the best case, to repair one. So, that's definitely not the case here. And actually, since I could not really afford to study, I had to work straight off high school. So, that gave me a lot of experience. But actually, what this took me was to Berlin, where I was stuck on the most horrible job in my life that I never want to be in the same position again, which I quit at a point pretty much a little bit after the iPhone was released. And what I knew was that I'm not going to be an employee again, ever again. I did not know how this was going to happen, but I was convinced because I was so scared of actually finding another job like the one that I had. And actually, this is where this big difference happened, right? Like this is where when two friends came to Berlin and they said, "Hey, we have a Mac, we should do iPhone apps." And they convinced me, and so like in a 20-minute ride with the subway, we were downtown and bought an iPod Touch for $160 or whatever it cost at the time. And actually, this was everything we had to do to start up an indie business. So 20-minute ride on a subway and $160, and we were, in the game. And so this is how it started, right? Like, and then from then on, everything was beautiful and fantastic, and there was money and then the wine came out of the fountains and stuff like that. But as I said, those times are over, right? Like this is not your old 2009. The Indiepocalipse took it all from us. So, I mean, yeah, we launched with no marketing and no visibility at all 5 years ago and made easy 50K, and now with even more experience, we did minus in 312. So, everything's over, right? It almost looks like somebody is exterminating the indies on the App Store. Like somebody's trying to take it all from us, so we cannot launch an app with no marketing and make it over the weekend and then get rich of it. Or are we being exterminated? Any of you seen any Terminators come out of one infinite loop recently? No, I don't think so. So let me show you what really made difference for me and the way that I see this business of ours. So last year I took a course on Coursera called,
Developing innovative ideas for new companies.
Exactly, developing innovative ideas for new companies. It's a course about entrepreneurship. So how to do things when you want to start a business. What it all means to have a business and to run one and so forth. And this is by Dr. James Green. He talks about really interesting stuff. It's a free course. If you go to Coursera.com, it's a free course you can take anytime you want. But the most important concept that he spoke about, and it really made me understand what's going on, because at the point I didn't really know what's going on in the App Store. I thought something's wrong. But what he was talking about was the term of industry age. So he was saying that, like the first time a service is basically launches commercially, an industry is born because ventures can jump on it and then earn money and make profit out of it. So from the first moment when the industry is born, it gets into its infancy age, stays there for a while, then it gets into its youth, then it gets into its adulthood, and then finally it dies. And it's really all also natural. So I have prepared an example that I thought about myself that I want to show you and kind of like comment on what does that mean. We're going to have a look at the electrical telegraph. So before the telegraph, you had to actually send your letters on the mail coach, right? Like it was slow, it was insecure, there was no guaranteed delivery. And that was a problem for some people that wanted to communicate. So in 1838, the first electrical telegraph service launched in the US and in the UK. And so at this point, people could jump on it and start their own telegraph service. But it wasn't that easy, right? Like not many people at the time knew about electricity even, or could launch international companies so that they could make a telegraphic service from one country to another or so. So in the infancy of an industry, the entry barrier is very high. So very few people can jump on it because the tech is really new. Not many people are experienced with it. It's very difficult. It usually requires a lot of investment to jump in on an industry in its infancy age. And so for about 20 years later, in 1850, the first international call happened over telegraph. Actually, basically Queen Victoria in the UK spoke in real time with President Napoleon in France. And I think about that time, everybody realized that this is a viable business, so money can be made. So actually big companies would then join because they saw that there are like profits to be made. And so the number of people that are jumping in this industry exploded. And what that basically resulted in was lower margins, a lot of competition. Anybody could really quickly launch a telegraph service, but it didn't really pay out so well. And then, like the telegraph was used basically till the 20th century and further, but in let's say on 1901, when the first wireless telegraphic message was sent across the Atlantic, it was pretty obvious that the electrical telegraph is, on its way out, because there was wireless telegraphy right now. There was no need to, put a cable on the bottom of the ocean. So, since after this year, there was still electrical telegraphic services, but they didn't really make much. You could just launch it, and some people will still use it, but it was more of a thing of the past, and it was obvious that it's going to die out soon. And I can't really say when the death of this industry was, but at the year 2000, we definitely don't use any of this anymore. We have Twitter, Facebook, and so forth. And so, you have the infancy, the youth, and the adulthood, and the entrance barriers are different, and the conditions are different. What it takes to launch a business is different, and then the conditions that you can operate under are different. So if we make a transition to the iPhone app industry, now we can remap this experience to, say, the electrical telegraph. So before the launch of the iPhone, we had VHS cameras, Walkmans, Game Boys, and so forth. And then came the iPhone, and that started with the first iPhone, started the app industry. So this was when the industry was born. And it was so difficult to launch a business in this industry that there was only one developer, Apple. It was so difficult to enter the industry. And then they launched the SDK, so other people could make ventures and jump in on this industry and make apps. But it was very difficult because not many people had iPhones. It wasn't so it wasn't that clear that there's going to be money to be made in this industry, right? Not to mention that not many people knew Objective-C, pre-ARC Objective-C. So it was really difficult to start a business in here. And eventually, this industry is going to mature, get into its youth. Something's going to come and wipe all this thing off the face of the earth. And I don't know, in 2050, people will be like, apps? Whatever you mean. So, yeah, it's going to be it. And then it's going to die out. Nobody's going to have an app on their iPhone. They have electrical eye lens of some sort. So, it's only natural that, when there's an industry is being born and then it matures and conditions change. So, if you had an App Store app in 2007, meant that you were an Apple. And if you had in 2009, it meant that you sat down and learned Objective-C pre-ARC. So, it all changes only naturally. And we're just about here. I would say, through my own calculations, we are at the end of the infancy about kind of like in between the youth and the infancy of this industry. And so, because I really think that this concept is super important so that you can think about your business in the right way, I want to give you an example with something that you're probably familiar with. So we're speaking about age, and I think that what is most familiar for you would be the human age, because this is a concept that we all understand. So if we look at the human infancy, you just lay on your back, and every now and then you let out a fart or maybe a colorful poop, and everybody is so happy with you. They give you 5-star reviews all the time. Wow, a green one, such an angel. And so, like in the infancy age, these things work pretty well, right? Like everybody was happy when you did that. But if we switch to the human youth, Nobody wants you to do that, right? So if you let one out, people are probably going to leave you a 1-star review because these things are generally not appreciated anymore so much and are not considered an achievement. So this should make it obvious that the same products don't really work in different ages, right? Okay. And if we now have a backlash to the App Store, here's what the App Store infancy looks like. The number one farting machine. I mean, so there were more farting machines, but this was the best one. iBeer, now with milk, which you can get as an app purchase. So, and if we now look in the App Store youth, there's a rule against those apps, so you can't really even launch them anymore. So, not only the conditions are different, but also the products that you can, launch and be successful with are different. So the same things just don't work anymore. So Fartley 2015 is not going to make it. That's not going to fly. RSSify 2015 probably also not going to fly. I mean, we have millions of RSS readers. And To Do Pro, I mean, they're all just going to flop and that's it. And if you put 6 months into developing one of those, it's just because you didn't really behave accordingly to what the reality is, all right? And so, just a few things that gets you start thinking about what is proper in this age of the industry. For example, it is very difficult to launch one app and then be successful, because if nobody has heard of you and if you don't have a huge marketing budget, your first idea probably good, but if people don't buy it, then you don't make it, actually. So, it's really good if you have a lineup of ideas and give them a try and see which one works and so forth. And it has to be a high-quality app. This apps where you can produce over the weekend and your uncle draws your basically graphics and your cousin does your Chinese translation. That does not work so well anymore, or rarely does right now. And so, by yourself, it's really difficult right now because the industry requires more from you. In the infancy of the App Store, working on your own was a viable option, but I don't think it is anymore because teamwork lets you dream bigger and bigger. So that is you have to look into a different scale, and you have to launch in a niche, because what we thought 5 years ago was, there is 2 million people that have an iPhone. If all of them buy my 99-cent app, I'm gonna be a millionaire. So we were naive, right? Like the very 2 or 3 apps that were launched in the App Store had all of the people in the App Store buy them, but actually that was rarely true even in the launch of the App Store. So it doesn't really work anymore. If you're an indie, you get to target a market that will not make a snap decision to just give 99 cents for something. Actually, you would like to have a sustainable business for people that will give you more money because they actually need your app. And then they're actually going to leave you 5-star reviews versus trying to sell to everyone who is not going to be 100% satisfied and leave you crappy reviews on the App Store. And number 5 that I just wanted to mention was Apple didn't promise you nothing. Like, really, I get so angry when I see people being frustrated because Apple doesn't promote them. Well, that was not in the deal. That seriously was not in the deal. If you go ahead and read your iOS developer contract, it doesn't say that they're going to love you. They just needed you to sell more iPhones. And those iPhones will get broken, so people will buy more iPhones. And those are going to get broken. They're going to buy more iPhones until Apple is the richest company in the world. But now it is. So they promoted you voluntarily because they needed to sell more stuff, but that's it. Actually, I went to YouTube and watched the keynote where Steve Jobs, remember this awesome guy? He introduced the deal for app developers. So what he said, I have a transcript here. He said, that's the deal. The developer picks the price, pick whatever price you want to have. The developer gets 70% of the price right off the top. Okay? There are no credit card fees for the developer. We take care of all that. There are no hosting fees for the developer. We take care of all that. There are no marketing fees. He takes a deep breath and goes on. The developer gets 70% right off the top, and it's paid monthly. So, he skipped on we take care of all that for marketing fees because that was never the plan to do your marketing. So the App Store is just a delivery platform. So don't be angry with Apple that they don't love you. I mean, sometimes they will promote you and they will feature you, but the App Store is just a delivery platform, and that's it. So I guess what I'm saying is that you cannot stay in the weekend, have your cousin and your uncle, and then launch an app on Monday. You actually need to have an actual business. And so probably you're going to say, actual business? I don't want to have an actual business. I don't want a real business. I'm good. Because if I have a real business, I'll have to have, accounting. I'll have to have marketing. I'll have to hire people. I'll have to do social media and all this other stuff that are gonna, sell my product and so forth. Well, yes, you need to do those things to sell your product and to have a sustainable life. That's how about it. And then, I don't know, somebody will jump in from the back rows and say, but I'm good at programming. Precisely, yes, you are good at programming, and that's your best value, because that means that you're probably not as good in marketing, hiring, accounting, and so forth. So, I really want to take you a little bit to Berlin, actually. So, right after I quit this horrible, horrible job, and I did not know how I'm never going to be an employee again, I read this book. It's called The 4-Hour Workweek, and it's by Tim Ferriss. It's a really great book, and I think the most important outtake that I have from this book is that you need to focus on what you can do, and what you can't do, hire other people. Because while you're probably earning enough from what you can do, then you can pay those guys to do what you don't really want to or can't do. So I really embraced this, and I focused on programming because I have the feeling that I'm good at it. So I really started only programming what I really wanted to do, what I really liked to do. And, let other people draw my art and let other people, be my distributor and so forth and so forth. And I really worked so well. I think that when I focused on what I really can and like, things really started turning around. Have a look at this screenshot that I'm never going to lose until I'm dead and cold in the earth. Here's the top free apps for, I don't remember which year, but on the top is Doodleboot HD Free, which is an app that I launched. Number 2, we see Adobe Photoshop Express, and 3 is Mobile Me Gallery. Then you have Live for iPad, The Guardian, and the Picasso. So this one stays on my, it's not on the desktop, but it's in a folder in the desktops. And I would every now and again just open it say, hey, good job. Yeah. And then, this this brand new website will write me, nobody ever has heard of them at the time, and said, do you want to make a Coco Studio course? Because you seem to like Coco Studio. And I said, sure. What do you offer? We say, we're going to make video courses on the internet. I was like, what? Video courses on the internet? Are you serious? Who's doing that? They said, we're going to do it. So, there it is. 5,220 people has taken it since then, and that was actually pretty well. That was actually pretty fantastic feedback for me, a lot of visibility. People will say, hey, that was fun, which was great. And I focused on professionally writing ever since, because I sat down and said, I like writing, I like programming. How about writing about programming? So there's just some of the books that I've worked on, including my latest, iOS Animation by Tutorials, really good book. And so, I found many things that I liked to do that actually kept paying for, because I would focus on delivering high quality on something that I like, and people will be happy with that. They would say, that's high quality. We like it. And I'll say, me too. So that was great. And I really got into open source. So I've released a lot of open source library on GitHub, and people will say, hey, that's really great what you did there. Another will say, that's not so great what you did there. And I will say, okay, how should I do it? And they say, you better do it like this. And I say, oh, okay, that's actually, you're right. So, it's something that, gave me tremendous fun, and it's been amazing to release stuff for free on the internet. And you will say, yeah, but you can't really sustain your indie life with it. Not true. Because when I focused on working on stuff that I really loved, then my code was great. And people will see that on GitHub and say, hey, your code is great. How about if you do this custom thing for us for money? And I will say, yeah, but this great code, I'm really, I charge a lot. And I say, yeah, sure. So that was so releasing stuff for free was also really, really, a great step for me, because I worked on stuff that I liked, and this actually, led to good things. I have my newsletter, in which I write to people free tutorials about animations each month. That's monthly. And people will get this for free. They will really like the stuff in there and go buy my book. So I do it I would do it anyways. I mean, just experimenting with animations is something that I will anyways do. But sharing it with people and then those people get excited and buy my book is even better for me. That's really crazy. And finally, let's have a look at Doodle Doodle, our custom iPhone keyboard that earned me minus 312 euros. Actually, because we really wanted to make what we will use and what we will like and will have fun with, shortly after released it on the App Store, a company wrote me, we want to give you money. They licensed the code for this keyboard, so they made their own keyboard with it. They just, licensed the code to use it, and we said, sure. So they covered the development costs for this. But do you know what they did is? What they actually wrote me was, we compared all the keyboards that we can find on the App Store, and we noticed that you paid attention to details that nobody else did. Things like, when you scroll the little bar on the top, if you just scroll to the last one, it will, after a little bit, just scroll one more so that you can see there's more things to come. Things like that I really had fun doing because there are animations and there are usability related issues and things like that. So I really took my time to make a product that I'm proud of, and people saw that. And then, they said, we want to give you money. That was great. But the most important thing of the fact that I focused on what I really like doing versus just wasting time on somebody's desk for something that I don't really like doing was that I'm able to choose who to work with. I'm able to cook my own food. I'm able to, because I work at home, so I can go to the store, pick some groceries, then cook, then eat, maybe have a slumber, and then work at exactly the precise time of the day when I'm most productive, which is early in the morning and late in the evening. So I'm able to have much more output in this few hours compared to just staying in an office all day long, 8 hours, and just trying to not get asleep. All right, so, and you'll say, then what? You started with something, then you took us around and brought us to wherever you had this big coconut. And so what's the idea behind all this? Then what? Is there an Indiepocalipse or isn't there an Indiepocalipse? Can somebody sit on the weekend with his uncle and cousin and launch an app and get rich or not? Well, what I think myself is that there still can be, there still are money to be made on the App Store. But you have to be serious about it. Because when there were 15,000 apps on the App Store, I thought, oh my God, everything's already done. Like there's no idea that I can possibly come up with that will actually fly, since there are 15,000 apps. So we thought like everything was full, right? Everything was already done. But, turned out that it's not. So if you approach the App Store in a different way that is proper for this age of the industry, I still think that indie apps can fly on the App Store. And if you're sick of the App Store and app reviews, there's the Mac App Store, which is basically this vast unexplored land where you can launch Mac apps. And because since Swift and Objective-C, which get you by with iOS apps, well, Mac apps are written in the same languages. If you know Swift and Objective-C, you can easily start writing Mac OS apps. This is an app called I'm sorry, the name is Monodraw. It's from a couple of guys I know. It's a really great app. You can actually draw interactively text, like schemes or just kind of like art and whatever and so forth. But these guys worked on this for 1 year. Like they didn't get on the weekend. They didn't get their cousin to do their art. So this is another possibility. And if you're sick of Apple and their bullshit, then you can go to the web. Have a look at Cesare Rocchi, who is one of the European gurus in iOS. He said, I'm sick of Apple. I'm going to create web services that have to do with the App Store, but I don't have to deal with Apple to actually run these businesses. So he creates, he's working on a number of things that are related to iOS, and he leverages his iOS knowledge. But he's creating web stuff for this. So he has his own server, he can work with no app reviews and so forth and so forth and so forth. Like this service which is called App Version, and basically pings you whenever there's a version of an app you're interested in. So he knows how the App Store works and just makes business out of this, but he's not being dependent on Apple. And there's money to be made with open source. For sure, every single open source library that I've launched has brought me customers because of what they saw and they liked and they wanted me to do something similar but custom. And if you're sick of all this, like taking care of accounting and stuff and so on, you can partner up with people because, iOS people and programmers and Mac people and so forth, we're all great people, right? So you can partner up with some really great people and, work on a different scale. So there's so many possibilities. And actually, and don't bash me for this, I don't know where the camera is, but I'm sorry, John and Nicole, for saying that. You can get employed. That's not so bad. In present day, tech companies give you so many perks that actually feels like you're being on vacation, right? Like food, organic beef, company pool, massage, beer. Yeah. Live a little, come on. So if you don't really want to take all this trouble, then you can also get a job. Just make sure that you're not stuck in it like I was in my horror job. Just make sure that, it's on your own terms. Okay, so to wrap up all this, we're just getting into the youth of this industry right now. It's an amazing time. We have beautiful, amazing technology. We have an amazing delivery platform. And we have great experts. So who are the experts? Well, it's me and it's you. So all of us here, because we've been here since the youth, and therefore, as far as we go from this moment in time, we're gonna have the most experience in this industry. So, imagine yourself a little older, gray hair and everything. Who's gonna be the expert then? Yeah, you're gonna be. You just need to be consistent and serious about it, and that's all it takes. So if you keep going, nobody can stop you. We're experts that are developing conceptual new solutions that wasn't existing before. We're using a groundbreaking technology, and we are in just the infancy of this industry. That's really amazing. It's the best time to be alive for us here. And for anybody who's serious and consistent, there's success to be made. That's all. Thank you. Do we have any time for questions?